Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Lori Sherlock, and I am a professor of exercise physiology in the School of Medicine at West Virginia University. Today, I want to start a series that will hopefully help you feel more comfortable in starting and carrying out arthritis foundation classes throughout this great state of West Virginia and beyond. As always, I welcome you to email me with any questions that you might have, and I am including this information below as well as in the handout that is accompanying this PowerPoint presentation. So let's dive into this idea of what tools do I need? What does my site need in order for me to have successful arthritis foundation classes? And the first question that we should ask ourselves is, what is the pool like? So when we think about water, there is a specific frame of water that really suits the arthritis foundation classes the very best. And the recommended temperature is between 83 and 92 degrees. This is a very wide range. And let's talk about how our classes might change in order to accommodate the water that we have. Um, Very commonly, if we're able to access a pool, the facility that we're using will have a set water temperature. It's not a negotiable thing. It's something that they say, hey, this water is 85 degrees or 86 degrees, and that's the pool that we have. By increasing or decreasing the temperature of the pool, you're going to vary the types of programming that can take place in that pool. So we usually have to figure out, okay, if they're not going to alter the water temperature because I'd like it a little bit warmer or I'd like it a little bit cooler, then I need to alter the types of activities I'm doing within my class. So generally speaking, the cooler the water, the more movement I want to perform. The warmer the pool, the more I can either offer rest or choose to offer rest so that we're not getting too warm, or the more I can really highlight things like flexibility and mobility without worrying about my participants getting chilly. The depth of the pool is also super important. So when we talk about water depth, most facilities are going to have some type of slope. It isn't just usually, here's a 3-foot depth pool. That's not usually what we see. We see some type of variation, and ideally, the most usable water is going to be a range from 3 foot to 5 foot deep. We want this range so that our different height and weight and body composition participants can find the spot that makes sense for them so that they can really ascertain the best water depth for their joints, the best water depth for their height, the best water depth for their comfort level. So in an arthritis foundation class, we ideally want to be immersing the joints that are being worked. So if I'm doing a shoulder activity that is requiring ideally the shoulder to be immersed in water, then I want to be in a water depth that I can do that with a high level of ease. So now I'm not putting strain and stress on my knees or my hips or my ankles in order to get that joints immersed. Conversely, I also want to think about, I don't want to go too deep. If I go too deep with my participants, if they're standing in shoulder depth water, then commonly they're not going to have a lot of body control. So when we reach a certain like mid-thoracic region in our spine, buoyancy takes over and gravity is no longer a huge factor. So with that takeover of buoyancy, we have that upward force that's going to allow us to float more. It's going to offload our joints. All of that is beautiful. But we also lose a lot of body control. So think about these types of things as you're considering the facility that you're using. Lastly, but definitely not least, we want to think about the entry and the exit from the pool. So think about what your participants are able to do. Are they able to go down steps, not a ladder, steps? Are those steps available? Is what your pool has, do they have a ladder in place of steps? That's a totally different skill set. Do they have a ramp? A ramp is a great choice, particularly if that ramp has, or zero entry has a railing for my participants to hold on to self-support. And a chairlift is something that we should see at all facilities. This is a mandated thing by the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. So we should see the availability of a chairlift at our facility. If they don't have a chairlift on site, that you're seeing at the pool, it may be that they have it tucked away in a closet. So they're going to have to pull that out for your classes so that they see that there is a higher level of accessibility to the facility for the clients that you're seeking out. We don't want to stop at accessibility when it comes to the pool. Of course, that's our first area of concern. We want to walk in, we want to assess the situation. Is this pool okay for me to do arthritis foundation classes in? Or do I need to seek out other facilities? Once we figure out that the pool is a good space for us, we need to look around. Is the parking lot accessible? So are there accessible spots? Is it flat? Is there available parking? Is the facility entrance accessible? Is there an unobstructed path that goes from the parking lot to the pool? And is it really hard to get from the parking lot to the pool? Or is it pretty easy? Is it a short distance? All of these things are areas that could be barriers for our potential clients. If it's really hard for them to go from their house to the pool in whatever sequence that follows, it could be a huge barrier, and it could definitely decrease the likelihood of them continuing with exercise. So we want to do our best to set our clients up for success. And that is really through allowing accessibility from the parking lot to the pool. Now, one of the resources that I will provide you in our handout is a little extra article on accessibility, and it really talks about going from the parking lot to the pool. What do we need to think about as aquatic professionals and as Arthritis Foundation providers? Locker rooms. Your clients are going to spend just as much time in the locker rooms as they are going to in your pool. So we want to make sure that these locker rooms are accessible, that they're safe, that there's enough space. And if those things don't exist, then what type of accommodations do we need to make? Or do we need to prepare our clients for? So it may be that, hey, the pool is perfect, but the locker rooms are not so great. So you might want to choose to take a shower once you get home. If you're in an area where the weather is nice, or maybe it's in summertime and we're doing this at an outdoor facility, we can say, hey, just bring a towel, wrap it around, and you can, as long as you can do that safely, to get back to your car, and you can head home directly there from there. So you don't have to worry necessarily about the locker room in that respect. But locker rooms are, generally speaking, a pretty important component to facility accessibility. We also want to think about what is our facility going to require from us? Of course, we are seeking out the right facility for our participants and for our programming, but we also need to think about what are they going to ask of us in return? For us to have a class at their facility, are they going to be charging us use of the pool? Are they going to be charging our clients a membership fee? Do we need to have a contract in place? So what needs to be happening in order for us to be using this facility? And also, on the flip of that, what does a facility need from us in order for us to host these classes in their pools? And then I put as kind of a bonus is a land-based backup room. We know that water can be finicky. We can have mechanical issues. We can have weather issues. We might have maintenance problems. Things can happen where the pool closes. So what if we have a backup room where we're able to take them through a land-based Arthritis Foundation class on days that our pools are closed? Okay, so we found our facility. Now, how do we find participants? Locating interested people is actually a little easier than you might think. So first off, let's pick from the lowest hanging branches and recruit from the facility members. If we're seeking out a pool at a gym where they have fitness members, there is probably a high likelihood that those fitness members, there's going to be a subpopulation that have arthritis, that are seeking out additional exercise programming to help them with controlling their pain, to improving their mobility, to maybe building in a community or a social group that understands what they're going through. So first, let's look within. Let's look at the facility participants that already exist and say, hey, do you want to come try our classes? So that's number one. The second option is to gain participants from medical professionals. So we know that individuals that are in pain and that are experiencing arthritis go to people that are orthopedics. Go to people that serve individuals with maybe potentially diabetes. Oftentimes we see a lot of different factors that come into a lot of comorbidities associated with arthritis. So diabetes, cardiovascular disease. So seeking out rheumatologists, seeking out medical professionals just to let them know that these classes exist. So providing a little education, letting them know that there is a place for their participants to come and participate in safe exercise. So that can speak volumes, and you might accrue a tremendous amount of participants from just letting people know that your classes exist, and your medical professionals can then guide individuals to you. And that is kind of also going beyond that. It may be in assisted living facilities. It may be in primary care facilities. So thinking about, don't just go to the specialists, look beyond. Advertising within your community. This might be via social media, or this might be via good old newspaper, or you can think about really going old fashioned and sticking up some flyers. Flyers can be super great. Again, think about where these folks may be. Are there bulletin boards near our pharmacies that we might be able to pin things up? Are we able to post things at some of our local community centers? Within our senior centers. So think about, okay, how can I get the word out within my community? And lastly, you can register your course. So many facilities, or sorry, many organizations provide an opportunity for you to register your course so that they know, hey, if I live in Morgantown, West Virginia, I know that there is an Arthritis Foundation course that takes place at the Student Rec Center at 1 o'clock on Mondays. Great. So that makes it easy for me to seek out that class. The Aquatic Exercise Association, in conjunction with the Arthritis Foundation, they are able to post your courses. Additionally, within the state of West Virginia, we provide that service as well. If you're interested in doing that, if you're interested in more information on that, please feel free to reach out. In making sure that people know what classes we're offering, they should probably know about the class. And educating people can do a lot of really positive things. So educating our community, our medical professionals, and even the facility members to let people know what the Arthritis Foundation programs are all about, specifically our water-based classes. So when we talk about water, we can't leave out the elephant in the room, the actual water. Water has a lot of really powerful effects on our physiology, including helping to decrease our pain level and decrease the load or impact that's on our joints. Those are two huge ones when we're talking to individuals that have arthritis. Arthritis Foundation programs are evidence-based, meaning that we used information from the literature, findings from research studies to create the program that currently exists. So what I've done for you is provide you with a few educational resources. The first is a really simple one, and this might be that something that you print out, and if you're advertising your class, you can put a little addition on there to advertise time, date, and all of those things. Or this might be something simple that you provide to people if they have questions about, what can the water do for me? What can these classes do for me? So this handout is specifically, if I immerse my body, what can happen? Okay, and it takes you through that information. We'll be covering this more in depth at a later time. I also have one that is maybe a little bit more specific to our medical professionals. So it has a little bit more physiology infused within this handout. Again, I'm going to include the links in this so that you can print this out and you can take it directly to your medical professionals, or you can download this and include it in emails so that people are aware of what the water has to offer. This, in conjunction with the movement programs that you are offering, the Arthritis Foundation programs that you are offering while immersed in this magical fluid, can help people really turn their lives around, grow their independence. So oftentimes when we educate our individuals, we help them understand the why. Why should I participate? Why should I send clients to your facility or to your classes? How does this promote my physical health? And why is water different than land? All of these are questions that people ask, and it's answers that we can get from really simple pieces of education. Okay, so we found our facility, we've deemed it appropriate and accessible, we've figured out how to get our clients in the door and how to get those participants so that we have large enough classes. We also need to factor in fees. So when we are thinking about creating a class, we need to think about the total picture. How much is this going to cost? And you need to first think about what fees are you incurring? Is the facility charging you to use their pool for an hour or for 30 minutes or for 45 minutes? So what costs do you have? Have you spent money advertising? Have you spent money on training? So all of these things should factor into your costs. Okay. Additionally, is there a membership or an entry fee for your participants coming into the facility that you're using? Can the fees be covered through an insurance program, through a national initiative, or through a grant? In the state of West Virginia, we have some fees, we have some funds rather, that can cover a lot of these fees. There are a lot of other national and national initiatives that may provide additional funding to help you with this. With insurance programs, we have things like Silver Sneakers that allow a certain amount of money to either on a daily basis or through a membership program that can come in and be potentially used as your source of income for these classes. So thinking about that. Additionally, how do you want to charge? Is it going to be a daily fee? So are you going to charge every time that they come to your class? Or are you going to look at weekly? Okay, I'm going to charge you per week, or I'm going to charge you for a full time-based session, 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever you want to think about there. Generally speaking, when we look at national averages, some classes are free. Other classes are up to $45. Okay, so this is a giant range, and you need to figure out what makes sense for you financially, and your facility. Okay, what makes sense financially? Very commonly, they're going to be quite happy getting their membership fee, while others really need to make sure they're bringing in additional funding. Okay, so we've got kind of all the nuts and bolts. We've got the big picture of how our class is going to, where it's going to take place, who's going to participate, how much it's going to cost. And now we actually need to get down to the brass tacks of what is our class going to look like. So creating your class format is super important. We need to think about how many days per week are we going to meet? How long is my class going to be? And how am I going to structure those classes? And am I going to do a single class? Am I going to do weekly sessions? Am I going to structure it as a monthly basis? Or am I going to do a duration-based session, okay, an 8-week session? Additionally, I may consider doing a blended session. Maybe I can only get the pool once a week. Well, gosh, I don't think that's enough for my participants to want to sign up for my class. So instead, I'm going to do pool once a week, and I'm going to do land-based once or twice a week. So this blending is actually quite lovely because you're teaching people to get back to land-based exercise. We live on land. As wonderful as water is, we need to be able to function on land. So this blended class format can be really quite great. The other thing I want you to think about, if we're doing single classes, okay, so that single class structure, maybe I want to do an intro to arthritis foundation. So I'm going to say, I'm going to do one class and I'm going to see how it goes. I want to see if I can draw some interest. I want to see if people are receptive to the class. So this might be a way to get your foot in the door at a facility. Hey, why don't you let me try an intro to arthritis foundation? Advertise the heck out of that one single class, make sure you have a great showing, and then from there say, hey, maybe these individuals would like to have a full-time class, so you can build on that. Additionally, if you don't have time to teach weekly, monthly, you may choose to do one class and use it as an Intro to Arthritis Foundation exercise and structure it in a way that says, here is an exercise program that you can come in and do. You can do this all on your own, and maybe even provide a handout or a video. Okay, so this is just some ideas that you might want to work on. As far as class duration, we want to encourage people to listen to their bodies. And to do that, it might be that a 30-minute class is all their body can handle. Okay, so we might choose to do a 30-minute class, or we might choose to do an hour-long class. And at the 30-minute mark, allow people to step away and maybe go hang out in the hot tub, or go step to do a little socialization to the side, or just float. Okay, so we're giving people permission to listen to their bodies at that 30-minute mark, and maybe again at that 45-minute mark. And then, of course, maybe we take them full to the 60-minute mark. And as our class continues to grow in fitness and decrease their pain level, they're going to be able to participate for longer and longer. So as we're building these classes, we want to be asking ourselves some questions. The first question that's going to drive the whole thing, the whole structure of our class, is what is the purpose of our program? And you may not know your clients, your potential clients yet, but you do know some of the struggles that they face, some of the issues, some of the challenges, some of the common signs and symptoms of arthritis. So we may choose to take these global needs of our class participants or our target audience, those with arthritis, and create a top 3 list. Here's the top 3 purposes of my program. So as an example, I might choose to think about improving or maintaining independence, creating a fun and enjoyable atmosphere, and progressing all aspects of fitness while reducing pain. Now, the first and third bullet are things that you're like, absolutely, that's a goal of Arthritis Foundation. That would for sure be something that I'd want to focus on because my clients that would matter to them. But what's that second one about? Fun and enjoyable atmosphere. Why does that matter? If somebody's having fun, if somebody's enjoying the environment they are in, they are more likely to come back. And the only way for these programs to work is for people to keep coming back for more and more and more. We want to keep people exercising, and we can do that by creating this really welcoming environment for those to take part in exercise. So now let's personalize this a little bit. If you had to step into the shoes of one of your participants that has potentially debilitating arthritis, what would be some personal reasons for you to want to attend your classes? Okay, so again, seems like a really simple question. Even if I don't know my participants, I'm going to be able to come up with a list. That list might include socialization. Maybe my pain level and my level of arthritis doesn't allow me to engage in social events as much anymore. But man, when I get into the water, my pain is decreased. I feel like talking, and the people around understand what I'm going through. So it feels really nice to get out and socialize. Number 2, I want to improve my function. I'm not able to get out and do the things that I want to do at the level that I want to do them. So maybe this class will help me get back to a place where I can improve my functional level, okay, my level of independence. And 3, man, I'm in pain all the time, and that really adjusts everything within my life. It makes me choose to participate in things, to not participate in things, to get off my couch or not get off my couch. If I was able to reduce my pain, I feel like my quality of life could really improve. Right. So thinking about these things, and of course we can personalize these further. I want to be able to go to the grocery store. I want to be able to continue to play with my kids or my grandkids. I want to be able to maintain my home. Okay, these are really simple things that oftentimes we take for granted as able-bodied individuals. So those that have severe arthritis, or even maybe it's not even severe, but it does absolutely cause challenges throughout different aspects of life. So think about on a personal level, and then reflect these things into creating a template of our class. So here is an example of an 8-week session. I've structured this using periodization, and that's a big word that just means that I'm going to gradually ask more of my clients while also incorporating a bit of rest. So I'm going to first prepare them to exercise, and then I'm going to build a nice, strong base of fitness, whether that is with flexibility, strength, muscular endurance, cardiovascular endurance, all of those things, movement competency. I'm going to build that base fitness. And then maybe I'm going to add in a dash of recovery. I want to be sure that I'm providing my clients with enough rest so that when we get into harder things, they're able to do them. Build phases are those harder things. So those are sections of class, times during class that I'm going to ask more of my participants at higher levels of intensity. And then, of course, I'm going to make sure that I'm building in enough rest. So let's take one of these pieces, and you can see here, I'm taking week 4. I'll go backwards here. I'm taking week 4. Okay. And I'm going to take this and draw it out and show you how I'm going to create a lesson plan with this in mind. Okay. So that big picture, this template, this big picture is going to allow me to progress my clients slowly. And it's going to allow me to assure that I'm trying to meet their fitness needs to the best of my ability, to build fitness, to build their level of independence, to decrease their pain. So I'm trying to constantly ask a little bit more while also incorporating rest. So I'm going to take week 4 from this template. And in week 4, this is a base phase, which is where you will find spending most of your time. You'll be spending most of your time in a base phase. We're going to do some cardiovascular training. That's 45% of the class. 5% is going to be muscular endurance. 50% is going to be muscular strength. And I'm going to include flexibility in my warm up and cool down. All right, so those are our main fitness components within a standard lesson plan within the Arthritis Foundation. So I'm going to take that piece of information, and then I'm going to expand on it. I'm going to get more specific so that I can create a lesson plan that is usable, I can take to the pool, and I know exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so my warm up, I'm going to include flexibility and I'm going to include an educational topic. That's going to take 10 minutes, and this is for a 60-minute class. In my main segment, I'm going to take 40 minutes in my main segment to include 18 minutes of cardiovascular training. Okay, so we said 45%. I'm going to do 2 minutes, a whopping 2 minutes of muscular endurance. Don't worry, I'll get that in another portion of my periodized program. So 5% of my 40 minutes, 2 minutes, and then muscular strength of 20 minutes. Okay, 50% of my 40-minute session. And then my cool down, I'm going to include flexibility and relaxation, another primary component that should be included in every lesson plan. Let's again take this, break it down a little bit more. In my warm up with flexibility and education, I am going to cue my individuals to find the right depth. I'm going to start them moving. Immediately when we get in the pool, we want to start moving. So we're going to walk. So forward and back and backward walking with some various arm actions. So I've got my arm swings forward and shoulder rolls as I will walk backwards. So my arm swings as I move forward, my shoulder rolls as I walk backwards. I'm going to do that for 2 minutes. And then I'm going to mix it up, continue with my backward walking, and add front arm circles as I move forward and side arm sweeps as I move backwards. Again, 2 more minutes. Now I'm going to move sideways, side steps, left and right. So I'm going to add arm swings as we move to the left and a hug as we move to the right. And then I'm going to switch that up again, a row with a shoulder rotator, left and right. So I put a more complex movement in there, and we're going to change direction to left and right. While we're doing that, once I get them going, I've got 2 minutes in each segment. So they've got a little bit time for me to cue, for them to move, and for me to provide a little bit of health education. That health education topic is understanding the importance of proper form and biomechanics. So gave a little bit of information on that. That's my warm up. That's my 10 minutes. Adding that in. In my main segment, I am going to use, I love using a type of system or a type of setup here. As you can see, I've got a 1 + 3 + 1 + 0.5, and I'll talk about what that means. So I've got a pattern. I'm going to take this pattern and I'm going to create 8 different circuits to take up the time of my 40 minutes. Here's an example of my first circuit. So I've got 1 minute of strength, 3 minutes of cardio, 1 minute of strength, and 30 seconds of muscular endurance. Now you can utilize this to meet the need, and you can interchange exercises to meet the needs of your clients. But basically, this is kind of what we're looking at for an example of one circuit. I'll then create 8 different circuits using this format or a variation to cover my 40 minutes and make sure that I'm using the correct percentage-ish of my cardiovascular training, muscular endurance, and muscular strength. Last but not least, I'm going to cool down with some flexibility and relaxation. So within my cool down, I'm going to bring in some balance using weight shifts and balance progression number 3. And then I'm going to bring in some belly breathing, use also integrating finger spread, which is a hand activity that will help me feel that belly breath a little bit more. Some deep breathing and shoulder rolls, and I'm going to emphasize that level of relaxation. So I took a very broad-based concept of within my template and refined it down to to create a lesson plan that is going to meet that template's needs. I've talked a little bit about creating a community, and I can't really stress how important this is. And again, in your handout and in those links, I'm going to provide you a little bit more. So the importance of creating a community within your class, there is so much literature, so much support that talks about emotional well-being, self-management capabilities, treatment adherence, overall quality of life. Community builds that within your classes. So emphasize socialization, talk about friendship, build that level of support into the fabric of your classes. And this takes time. And last but not least, let's make sure that we're tracking our classes. So the Arthritis Foundation, as well as other organizations, are asking you to track your classes, keep numbers. And that is the attendance, the reach, the outcomes. Who are you meeting? Who are you meeting with? How many people are coming into your classes? How frequently are they coming? What are they getting out of your classes? So these are things that we're interested in on a state and a national level. Additionally, you can find out what your class likes, what they don't like, the benefits that they're gleaning from your class, and any suggestions that they may have for you to better the class for them on a personal level. This can help you gain a little bit of insight and grow as an instructor. I want to thank you so much for helping those with arthritis live better lives, and also make sure that you understand that you are absolutely welcome to reach out to me if you have any questions about the Arthritis Foundation program or anything that we covered today. Thanks so much for joining me, and I sure do hope to see you at the next session.